Welcome to Bold Talk series where creativity, leadership, ideas, innovation come together. My name is Epi Ludvik, and today I have a privilege to have a short one-on-one conversation with Bardh Kadiu, a CEO and founder of KidsDay app and a co-founder of CODA.TECH. Bardh, great seeing you, and welcome to our Bold Talk series. How are you?
Hi, Epi. Thanks a lot for the invite, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic, man. Great to see you. We come from a same place, Pristina, Kosovo, right? So
Yeah.
glad to have you. I think you're the first one that we have someone from Pristina that we had this Bold Talks podcast. Truly looking forward to this conversation. Bardh, bring us here a little bit in terms of what sparked your curiosity in technology and building things that truly matters.
Well, actually, I think that goes back to when I was a child. My parents were both. My father was specifically very into technology. He used to work as a video editor since the 70s and 80s, and we always had the newest technology at home. And I remember even as a kid, when I was 5 years old, I think I got my first console computer. And then I just kept upgrading and upgrading, sort of. So I was always interested, but the funny part was that every time I got something new as a computer, my first thing I would do would be to take it apart. And usually, most of the time, I used to break stuff until I was old enough to understand what I'm touching that is breaking and how I can revert that action to actually make it work again. So in general, I was always very much into technology.
Yeah, so it makes a big difference when the technology it sits at home and you're like a kid at the age where you're like trying to explore and you're curious, right? So the curiosity makes you go in and touch all the buttons and break stuff. Now, tell us about that journey. Like, what were the steps or decisions that led you become an entrepreneur?
I mean, my early days as an entrepreneur would be, I think, from high school. Even in high school, I was always a movies fan. So I used to have my own movies library. And of course, at that time, and being in Pristina and Kosovo, they were pirated movies. But I remember that even in high school, I had a video library of about 400, 500 movies at that time. And I was also selling movies at the school as well. So even in high school, I had a movie list on this big A5, A3 paper. And then I was giving it around to the other students so they can circle which movies they want to purchase from me. And then I would burn those DVDs. At that time, we were talking about DVDs. So even then, and then that actually followed me even through my university studies as well. So even in the university, I was running the university cinema at that time, showing the newest movies, sometimes even before they came to the cinemas in the region, actually. And it was that part, I think, that spark that always followed me on the journey, actually, to become an entrepreneur, to find stuff, to help people, to support, and always make money on that as well, I think, in a
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, solving problems. You started Coda.Tech. Give us a little bit of like what Coda.Tech is and what inspired you to create that particular uh, that business.
Yeah, actually, so CODA.TECH is a software company we started in 2018, and that was together with two founding partners. And it's Nick Miftari. He's also a guy that came from Kosovo, and then he grew up in Germany, actually. And the other co-founder was Timo. He is a German guy who has been in the tech sector since year 2000. Timo and Nick were talking a little bit, and then I joined the conversation as well. And we were talking about making a new kind of software development companies where we also would, let's say, empower new innovation, also to serve also as an accelerator to build internal products as well. And that was actually the idea behind Koda.TECH. So we started in team initially with offices only in Pristina. And then we grew the company. We had offices then in Tirana. We had offices initially in Stuttgart, and then we opened in Malaga. At one point, we even had office in Belarus, actually, but then the war started, so we decided to close that office. We opened it in Georgia, and then we closed that as well. But KodaTech now is also part of a bigger group of companies called DNA, Digital Native Alliance. It's a bit smaller now than when it used to. I mean, we had our breakthrough, especially during COVID, when everybody was building tech products, e-shops, and everything. So everybody was needing software development resources, and KodaTech was the answer to that. So at one point, we had a team of about 50 developers at KodaTech.
Mm.
And as a group, we were about 250 because we were five sister companies, sort of, that were working together to offer dedicated resources and extended teams, sort of, so that we can support even small company startups that don't have a lot of resources, that we can be their, let's say, extended hand of a team, so that when they need more development power, would be there to support them as well.
Nice. Now, that led you to having a transition and to start the KidsDay. Tell us about the KidsDay, and how that happened.
Actually, KidsDay was a very, I think it's a project and a product and a company that I love very much. So KidsDay happened very naturally. So I was meeting with Briken, who is one of our founders. Briken has been working in the early years education for over 20 years. So she was running a childcare center in Pristina, and actually that's where I had my kids as well. So my kids were going to her childcare center. And then during COVID, we had a meeting, and then she mentioned that she's having a lot of issues with privacy because a lot of parents wanted to get an additional update from the teachers. But we're talking about COVID times now, or just after the COVID. And what happened was that because parents weren't allowed to enter the childcare center, they would post these reports on the front door, actually, of the center. And then everybody was able to read what every child was doing because there was no privacy. So she came to me. We talked about how we can solve that issue, and then we dug a little bit deeper, and we saw that that's not the only issue, actually. And then we dug deeper. Then that is an issue that is worldwide, not just in Pristina and Kosovo, but everybody's going through that. And then we identified a lot of other pain points that educators are going through: a lot of paperwork, a lot of time lost. I mean, just as an example, when a parent sends their child to daycare, usually they call afterwards to see whether that child has calmed down. And then what happens next is they text again the teacher, hey, did she eat? Did she sleep? How is her mood? And then what happens is, at the end of the day, when they pick up the child, they ask still the same questions and the same answers. And teachers were using about an hour a day just to do these kind of reporting towards parents. That happened. And then when you think about it, I mean, a child's brain develops about 90% from the ages of 0 to 5. So these 5 initial years are very critical for the development of a child. And teacher being constantly responsible to do a lot of documentation, a lot of paperwork, that results that a lot of teaching time is lost. It results to missing some early learning signals, and then still the parents are in the dark because they're not aware on what's going on with their child at the daycare center. And then together with Briken and with Geti is our CTO and founder as well. We sat down and we put a concept on paper and started developing KidsDay. Actually, we started developing KidsDay in 2021, and we based the whole needs based on the educator's needs, based on a childcare center's needs. Of course, we had the center that Briken was running to test out the product, to refine the product, to get the actual feedback on what an educator is looking for to solve an issue, which would, in one sense, save time for the educators, and the other sense also empower children with individualized learning paths, with more support and more, let's say, learning based activities in that sense. So we started officially with KidsDay at the end of 2022, and currently we offer, I mean, we have clients in Kosovo, Albania, North Macedonia, in Dubai, and even in the United States.
Interesting. So you work with these daycares, kids, kindergarten. Is that right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
How difficult is the sales cycle for this? What does it take?
I mean, it's a bit difficult until we make a we make them realize that pain points, actually. And here we're talking about educators. So not all of them are very tech savvy people. So not all of them are looking for new solutions or learning new technology in that sense. And that was also the focus that we invested in KidsDay a lot, was simplicity and user experience simplicity as much as possible, so that they can get to a result within 1 to 2 taps in their phones. The cycle is quite tough because you have to convince people to switch from pen and paper to a digital smartphone. But I think once they start using it, they really see the benefits, and they really see the results that they get by doing so. We even had an educator, a teacher, who was who is actually 55 years old. And when we initially introduced KidsDay, she was a bit skeptical because this is something new. It's a completely different way of working. And she was hesitant at the beginning. But then after a month or two, she called us and she said that you guys made a good job because her job was a lot easier. And it is something that is in our mission as well, to support educators so that we can make a difference in early years learning as well.
Nice. So what's the future looks like of this application?
So currently, actually, we're trying to utilize as much technology as possible to make the job of an educator easier and to make the results of such an educator also more empowering. What we're doing now is we've embedded a little bit of our artificial intelligence within KidsDay as well. So what that means is that when an educator is doing, let's say, development reports for children or observations. So they observe that the child has learned a new skill or is lacking behind it on a skill. Usually they used to do this on a paper-based paper. So it's taking notes every month or every 3 months or every 6 months, depending on the methodology that the school is following. And then they had to go back and calculate everything and see where a child is lacking behind, where they need more attention, what kind of activities. And what we did is we simplified this whole process so that it's a very easy to use interface. They just click on each skill, how the child is behaving, how they're progressing. And then with a click of a button, they can get a summarized version of that report that says, hey, for example, Eric is doing well, but he's lacking behind in math and social skills. Please feel free to integrate more activities like this and this. So we even give specific activities that they can do. So this is what we offer currently at KidsDay and what we're building, and we're very excited to launch actually in a couple of months. By the end of August, is the AI lesson planner. So each teacher is responsible to plan lessons for each of their classes, depending on the age group, depending on the thematics that they set for weeks and months. And what we've done is we've integrated AI in this part as well, so that a teacher just can click a button. And then we take into account the child, the class, for example, age groups, the methodology that they're following, being it Montessori, IFIS, or Reggio Emilia, for example, the thematics that they set for the days and the weeks, and then we fill out the rest with activities. So detailed activities they can perform, instructions how to do that, all of the necessary materials that they need to carry out that activity, so that we make the planning part as easy as possible. I mean, the teacher can still review that, change some things if they want to, but that is basically what they can do with a click of a button, whereas it took a lot of times to plan that. And in addition to that, we also offer a planner feature, a planner meaning that they can plan events, meals, activities for the whole year. And the way we integrated that and simplified is that even, for example, for the meal planning types, depending on the menu that they offer, we offer a calculator that can support childcare centers to calculate all of the macros and nutritional value of each meal that they serve. So meaning if they're serving, for example, pasta bolognese with some juices and some stuff, we take that into account. We take into account the portion for the age group that is being served, and then we calculate what would be the macros for that, how many calories, fats, carbs, and proteins as well, so that we make sure that they also have a healthy meal in addition to the learnings that they're forming at the center as well.
Nice. I haven't come anything like this across. How do you find this pain point? Because this is very difficult. Of course, I mean you share the story, but how do you find that this pain point that is relevant with other markets, for example, right? Because the markets are different. But what I see here, you're building something incredibly amazing, like a CRM for 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 the entire system of having the kids, from serving the meal to a class and everything else, and it's very unique. So how do you get that conviction that it's like, well, this is a pain point that it doesn't matter the market, it's truly a pain point that you want to solve?
I mean, we've done a lot of customer discovery interviews. So even in the US, in our local market here, and also in the region, and we've noticed that at the end of the day, the pain points are the same. I mean, educators here in the US or elsewhere are serving the same audience, having the same pain points. And the way we make sure that we're constantly following that is that we are very close to our customers. So we are in constant communication with them. We organize joint events. Just for tomorrow, for example, we have an event here in Pristina where we're talking about how to eliminate the burnout in educators, because that is one of the most crucial professions, I think, in the world, and that has the highest rate of burnout. And we have an event tomorrow in Pristina, for example, where we invited psychologists, educators, and also directors, so that we can talk together and identify these points where we can also help support the educators as well. And we have the same event actually on Tuesday in Tirana as well. We are
Nice.
starting with these events regionally and then expanding them into different regions as well.
You should highly, you mentioned like some other markets like Dubai. You should highly consider Singapore. I mean, Singapore, it's very towards digitalization, and I haven't come across any of these applications in Singapore. I'll probably what I will do is I will take this to my sister-in-law. She has a few kids, and I'll ask her if there's any application that you guys use for it, and will be probably a good opportunity for you to go and think about that market too. So, we're doing these bold talks as a short format conversation. We'd love to have a longer conversation. Hopefully, next week. I'm right now in Tirana, so let's meet up. What does the word bold mean to you?
I mean, the word bold, I would say, is to be brave enough to change something that's been done in one sort of way that you would think should be done differently. And I think this also has some links with practicality as well. So a lot of times, I think we are used to doing stuff in a way that we're used to, and it's always a challenge to change that behavior that we've created. And I think being bold would mean to change that into something that can be done better, with better outcomes, with faster in time and in this regard. Maybe I'm wrong, but that would be my assumption of it.
Absolutely. Being better, being bold, and that's way to great way to end. Bart, I wish you all the great success with your Kids Day app. I love it, and I think you have a really huge opportunity here to solve a really big problem for parents and for the educators. Until we see again, take care, be great, and be bold always.
Thank you, Epi. It was a pleasure talking and sharing the story, and looking forward to meeting you in person as well.
Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you.